Hey there, modern math teacher. What does the presidency have to do with math? Well, as it turns out, a whole lot. Today, we're going to dive into how you can connect math with history and civic engagement with a fun, data driven project your students are guaranteed to love. How can we use elections to teach data literacy, probability, and real world math while tying it all into President's Day? Well, in today's episode of the Modern Math Teacher podcast, we're going to continue our talk about how to bring real world math into our secondary math classrooms. And we're going to take it a step further. We'll talk about how integrating math with other subjects like history can help deepen your understanding, how the election project connects to your math to the real world. And I'm going to leave you with some actionable ideas that you can try this week, even if you don't grab that resource. So, I'm Kristen Moore, your host here on the Modern Math Teachers Podcast, and let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the why behind making some cross curricular connections. Now, why should we connect math to other subjects? Listen, I know that you have more than enough content standards to teach and that you could solely be focused on knocking them off on day 1 through day 180. But does trudging through one math concept after another feel you leaving super inspired? Because I love math, but connecting it with other subjects is really what's going to make it help come alive for you and your students. Connecting math with other subjects engages your students who might not feel connected to math by helping them see its relevance across disciplines, maybe even connecting to their actual favorite subject area. And additionally, making this connection is going to help foster that critical thinking and problem solving that we're after for our students by encouraging them to see and make all of these different interdisciplinary connections. We don't live in a single subject world after all, right? We're not just in these tiny silos. Everything we do and live in our real lives is interconnected. And, of course, by making these connections, we are reinforcing key math concepts in fresh, meaningful ways that are going to help deepen that understanding for our students. So, with that in mind, why are we going to talk about elections and presidents? What does that have to do with math? Why are we leaning into it? Well, really, it's pretty simple. Okay. Elections are grounded in math. There's data analysis, voting trends, percentages, and probability, all of that tied into the election. And while the election happens only once every 4 years, nationally, I know everyone has their own state elections, but President's Day is an annual event and it's an opportunity to reflect on our leadership and decision making. And it's perfect for tying in civic themes. And we can connect math content with these elections to help students see the impact of math in the real world, including that government and decision making process. We know many of our students, if you're listening to me, you're likely teaching high school teachers or high school students, not high school teachers. A whole bunch of our students are going to get to vote in the next presidential election. So it's a great opportunity for them to learn about the process and experience a little bit about it for themselves before they actually have to go out and make those educated votes. So, if you're interested, let's talk about the election project and what it is and how you can use it in your classroom. So, what is this election project? It's really a project based activity, a mini project where students are going to analyze historical election data to calculate probabilities, visualize data, and make some predictions. This project was a huge hit in November, and it can easily be brought back to life in February as it incorporates concepts again like percentages, bar graphs, measures of central tendency, topics that really never go out of style and that we never really give our full focus to in the secondary math world. This project is great because it includes a culminating activity where your students are going to be able to present their findings, or they can create their own election scenarios. So here's how it works if you're going to use it in your classroom. During the project, students are going to work collaboratively on interpreting voting data and trends, looking at data from populations they actually care about. Remember, we don't just want things that are real, we want things that are relevant and meaningful to our students. So they might be looking at voting trends for specific age demographics, like the 18 to 25 demo that they're just about to be in. They could break it down by looking at just their state. You could have them look at any demographic really that you can think of. So students are going to get a chance to explore data that is meaningful to them and share about it. This project is really fantastic for promoting discussion and reasoning as your students are going to explain their math findings to one another as they share the insights that they've gathered from this data analysis. And what makes this project work is that it's super easily adaptable for a single class period or a week long exploration. It's really perfect for knocking out the stats and probability unit that often gets neglected or pushed off until the very end of the year. And we're always kind of trying to scramble. At least that's true typically in my school and my classroom. Okay. So here's the deal. Whether you want to go all in and use like a full project or not, there are some easy ways you can connect to math this President's Day, which of course is next week as long as I get this out on time, right? So, okay. I've got three simple activities for you. I think I've got three. Number one, analyze voting percentages. Okay. Super simple. Use real world election data to calculate percentages, compare results, right? You could say, like, what percentage of total votes did the winning candidate receive? And you could again break that down by state or demo, however you want to look at it. You could host a class election, right? Do it yourself. Have your students vote on a fun topic like the favorite snack or a class activity and analyze the results with graphs and statistics and talk about how an election that way is similar to the elections in the real world. You can also make some other historical math connections. You can explore voting trends or demographic data from past elections and ask yourselves and your students, how did the voter turnout differ by age or by state in the last presidential election? This is great because we just had one this past fall. So you've got fresh data you can be looking at and exploring with your students. And here's a quick bonus tip for you. Bonus tip number four, I guess. You can encourage your students to explore the math behind political campaigns. So, take it beyond just elections and the data. They can look at things like budgeting for advertisements or calculating the probability of winning based on polling data. If you're not into using this now, go ahead and save this episode and come back to it during the next election cycle. All right, guys, let's give this a wrap up real quick. So, one, math does not need to be a solitary subject. Math is deeply connected to real world topics like elections, civic engagement, sports that we talked about last week. There are so many ways that you can show your students that math is a cross curricular subject. Okay. And incorporating these cross curricular lessons can foster engagement and deepen understanding. We want our students to really know and appreciate why the math is going to be useful for them. So, whether you use the full project or you just implement your own election in your class, you can bring President's Day and math to life in your class. Okay. President's Day is a prime opportunity to connect math to the real world. If you want a ready to go resource that ties that in, check out the election project on TPT. Again, it's designed to make math meaningful and fun. And I'm going to link that in the show notes. Thanks so much for tuning in today, you guys. Don't forget to leave a review and share this episode with a colleague looking for fresh ideas to keep it real in math class. That's it for this week. Until next time, keep connecting math to the real world, keep fostering curiosity, and as always, keep it real. I'll see you then.